This is a production of WKNO Memphis. Production funding for Sports Files is made possible in part by
Infinity of Memphis has moved to Germantown Road, just half-mile north of Wolf Chase Galleria, and is proud to support WKNO for its quality broadcasting and service to our community. Quality and service? No wonder Infinity of Memphis feels at home on WKNO. The Lighting Source, major line distributor of commercial and industrial lighting, including hard-to-find bulbs and fixtures, as well as a broad range of LED products. With 35 years' experience servicing lighting needs, The Lighting Source proudly sponsors Sports Files.
The WKNO Production Fund, the WKNO Endowment Fund, and by viewers like you. Thank you.
My guest today on Sports Files is University of Memphis Athletics Director Tom Bowen. The landscape of college athletics is changing by the moment. In fact, the future of amateur athletics at the collegiate level may never look the same. Power conferences, autonomy, full cost of scholarship, stipends, paying athletes. This is the terminology we are using in 2014, a far cry from the days of pure amateur athletics. Playing devil's advocate, why should colleges and universities make millions and the athletes in the revenue-producing sports, football and basketball, not reap the benefits? Of course, the counter from some would be, well, these athletes pay nothing to go to some of the best institutes of higher learning in the world, where they can come away with a degree and not have to owe thousands in loans like most regular students. It's a dilemma that has sprung major lawsuits, like the Ed O'Bannon case, which is fighting for athletes to receive financial compensation for the use of their likeness. But that's just one of several huge cases going on. Is it a slippery slope we're heading down? Or is it a bumpy road that simply needs paving and a smoother ride for those responsible for making coaches, athletic directors, and school presidents millions? Today, University of Memphis Athletics Director Tom Bowen joins me to talk about the effect all this may have on the future of the Tigers. It's the pros and cons of big-time collegiate athletics, and it's next on Sports Files. Tom, it's great to have you on the show again.
Thank you, Greg. It's great to be back.
I know it's a busy time. Thanks for carving out some time for us. Good start to the football season. What you needed to do, go out there, take care of business against Austin Peay. 63-0. Team did a lot of good things last Saturday.
I was very proud of the student athletes and the coaches, and Coach Fuente in particular, for putting together the right start for the season, the right kind of game plan, and the weather seemed not to be a factor, which was something we were concerned about. And I want to thank all of the Tiger fans and Tiger Nation for coming out. We had a very good crowd at 27,000, and that was a great crowd for us to start the season. And we are back home on the 20th of September against Middle Tennessee State. So we're hoping for another great turnout too. So
the concert series began with Kevin and Bethany Page, but you've got some big-time acts coming. So that's new for Tigers fans this season.
It is. We partnered with one of our corporate partners, and Tiger Sports Properties helped us put together a pregame concert, 90 minutes before the start of the game, an actual pregame concert, big stage, big production. We have Stephen Green or Rick Green coming before the Middle Tennessee game. So 90 minutes prior, we have our big Tiger Sports Properties tent along with our TSF tent. For $10, you can go in and get all you can eat barbecue, and beer and other libations, and enjoy the day. So
just another way to enhance the experience.
Correct. Trying to build upon Tiger Lane, try to build upon the investment made by the city of Memphis and the design of Tiger Lane to create a real center point for people to come and park their car and be a part of something without worrying about whether they're tailgating in the blue lot. They can come hang out in Tiger Lane. Before
you meet up with Middle Tennessee State, which is going to be a very important non-conference game.
Correct.
You got a trip to UCLA. You're going to play a top 10 team on Saturday.
I do.
I don't know if there is a tougher week 1 to week 2 opponent than going from an FCS that struggled, to say the least, so it was 0-12 last year, to a top 10 team in UCLA. What are the challenges ahead for Justin Fuente and this Tigers team?
Well, first of all, I think other programs have had the same combination, FCS to a major BCS or a former BCS opponent. The game, when we put the scheduling together back in 2012 when I was first here with Danny Guerrero, who's a dear friend of mine, and it's a home-and-home series, so they're coming back to
Memphis,
which is great, in 2017. Their program was in rebuilding stage. Jimmy Moore had just been hired. They had gone through. So ironically, you know, they've certainly achieved and done what they thought possible. And when you schedule a game like this, it's done for a lot of reasons. One is for the program and the opportunity, the national exposure, and what we're trying to do and create some real excitement around, you know, our recruiting. This was something that we let our student athletes know they'd be a part of. And we're returning to the Rose Bowl. The last time we were there was 1971, 43 years ago, against San Jose State. Coach Murphy defeated the Spartans, and that was the last time that the Memphis Tigers have played in the Rose Bowl. So it's an exciting, historic, kind of nostalgia trip. Certainly the opponent's going to be daunting, but I'm excited. These student athletes that play football for the University of Memphis are determined young men who have the mettle of their resolve to play hard and do the right thing in a united focus. And I believe in Coach Fuente. So I'm looking forward to a good game.
And for the record, Memphis 2-0, by the way, in California, just so you know that. Let's talk about philosophy of scheduling in football. I've seen future schedules which are not etched in stone. Like you said, 2017 UCLA returns, but I believe I saw UT, Ole Miss in that year. There's no way you're going to play the big three in 1 year, right?
And unfortunately, some of that data should not be getting out in your vision. But
I see.
Football scheduling, we're working on 2021, 2022, and what we do, Coach Fuente and I sit together, Coach Fuente and I, and Bren Baker, my deputy, and myself, will sit down and go through a combination of opponents. We try to play an FCS opponent every year, try to play a 50-50 opponent, a stretch game. UCLA game would be considered a stretch game, or a major, one of the high resource 5 conference opponents, and then to play an opponent in which we should do well and compete well against. When we took the schedule over, there were some overlaps of some very daunting stretch games in the same non-conference schedule. We've been able to move conferences around, move some of the scheduling dates around, and we're very balanced. And a lot of that data will be released soon. I don't want to do that today, simply because it creates a lot of excitement and a lot of a difference of opinion. But probably at the end of this year, we'll announce 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. The scheduling of football, it's an art. You know, I've been doing it a long time, and I will tell you that there are some years when your coach has a great year and a great season and everything goes well that you're a genius at it. And there's some years when, you know, it didn't go as well as you hoped, and you lost a game you should have won non-conference, or you didn't have the kind of opportunity you thought you would have, and then, you know, of course, the other opinion happens. But non-conference scheduling in Division I football has historically taken so much years ahead that it's a real, you know, some days you're like, I think that'll be a great opponent. You know, I'll give you an example. Right now, everybody wants to play University of Memphis, and they have since I got here in 2012. But University of Memphis is getting better and better and better as an opponent. At some point, like happened to Boise State, nobody wants to play them. Same thing happens at North Dakota State after beating Iowa State Saturday. Not many people want to play North Dakota State anymore.
Right. 5 straight wins against
FBS opponents. So there's this constant ebb and flow between, is this a good non-conference opponent, or is this a non-conference opponent that's going to give us a lot of trouble? And that's the dynamic about it.
Daunting challenge. And real quick on this, because I think we've discussed it before, but when you look at big-time opponents to schedule, you're looking at home and home.
Yes.
So the Arkansas State getting $1 million to go to Tennessee thing, that's not part of the psyche of the University of Memphis.
No, when I've come in, we've decided to stay away from guarantee games and work on filling our stadium and creating a non-conference opponent like Duke, like UCLA will be, like Missouri will be, like Ole Miss will be, like we believe Kansas could or could not be. We're not sure.
Tennessee, if you play
Tennessee,
them,
if we play Tennessee, certainly, you know, they've had that proposal to David. Those are the kind of games we want because it creates a great full stadium.
I agree.
Creates a revenue stream for us that we don't have right now, and that's important.
Well, Tom, I know it's a crazy time in collegiate athletics with everything going on, from the Ed O'Bannon case, the autonomy deal, the Jeffrey Kessler case, which I'll have you explain to the folks in just a second, and just a lot of wheels turning. But really, it's more than just a breakaway of the Power Five and autonomy. There's a lot of things going on, and there's really a story within the story that a lot of people don't understand.
Well, you know, what's interesting is the media has only focused on the Autonomy 5 permissive legislation of 5 conferences to create their own 7 areas of permissive legislation, as opposed to what's actually taken place in this whole year-long proposal made by the NCAA Board of Directors to the NCAA membership and the NCAA governance, and to recalibrate for the first time since 1996 how Division I athletics is orchestrated, how it is governed, how policies are decided, how it's implemented, and how we actually do in the best interest of our student athletes. So the NCAA then put forth in August of 2013. A year later, in August of 2014, a proposal by the board of directors, which includes 17 presidents of Division I schools, proposed a legislative change, a change in the number of Division I council seats in the council, 17 to 24. And in that include an athletic director, an SWA, and 2 student athletes. For the first time, 2 student athletes are in the decision-making governing process of Division I athletics. Secondly, the elimination of the legislative council, the elimination of the other current leadership council, which I currently serve on, and the creation of the new council, which is 32 members. And of that council, 60% of that membership must be a Division I athletic director. The third part, which is the permissive legislation, which was produced by the 5 high-resource conferences to allow them to take 7 areas of permissive legislation to allow them to then create areas that they have flexibility in governance in a unified approach. Because it's permissive, it means that Memphis, the American Athletic Conference, the Sun Belt, the MAC, Conference USA, Mountain West, any member of the 129 current FBS membership can participate in whatever's passed. They form their own autonomy of governance. 65 delegates, 15 from each conference, is that right?
75?
No, that's wrong. So 65, each conference has, so 65 members, 1 member per school.
Okay.
And then 15 student athletes. So their delegation is 80. I'm sorry, their delegation is 80. And they will meet to look at 7 areas: health and wellness, nutrition, insurance benefit, the ability to have agents and advisors, likeness of media, cost of attendance, that piece.
Right.
And then personnel. Areas not on the table for permissive legislation, the real Division I governance, scholarships, transfer rules, and the things that matter in our business. What you see now is a move from competitive equity to competition. So there's no longer this nuance of all this governance that says we'll all be competitively equal, because in reality, there are budgets of $150 million and there are budgets of $15 million in Division I. And that can't allow this equity of equalization, and that's where the autonomy thing was created.
In about a minute or so, and that's well said, if you could follow that along, folks. I think I did pretty well. But what is this? Okay, so what does it mean? It means to me it's not doomsday for the University of Memphis.
No, it's not doomsday for people who are proactively seeing this as an opportunity. It will require a new paradigm in the way we conduct the business of college athletics. The American Athletic Conference under Mike Oresco has decided as a conference to stay in step with the High Resource 5. So we created a marketing platform called the American Power 5 Plus One, and it's called the American Conference Rising. And so as a conference, we have decided in unity to stay with our former BCS brothers.
I see.
In unison. That would require us to embrace any permissive legislation. The timeline in legislation is somewhat complicated. So August 7th was the Board of Directors recommendation for new governance, the 5 pieces: the council, the leadership council, the autonomy, and the new board of directors. So these pieces were proposed. 60 days later is the override period. We believe that nobody will vote it down, and they need a large majority to vote it down. By October 1st, the new autonomy 5, or the 80 delegates, will send in on the 7 areas of permissive legislation their proposals for benefit changes, rule changes, ideas, discussion.
I see.
In January of 2015, at the NCAA convention in Washington, D.C., on January 15th, the 80 autonomy delegation will meet to begin open discussion on the proposed October 1st litigation or legislation ideas. In April of 2015, formal structure of that proposal from the discussion of January will begin the process. The following September, there'll be another gathering of this proposal, and in January of 2016, at the next convention, the autonomy delegation will meet to finalize its proposal for legislative permissive change, which will be approved in April of 2016 and implemented in August of 2016. So as the old governance system unwinds and the new governance system takes place, there's a window here of 25 to 27 months before this actually happens. That's the time right now for myself, my team, President Rudd, and all of Tiger Nation to begin to articulate our paradigm approach to being in unison. It is far more critical that we prepare for the change than it is to fight and say the change is unnecessary or the change is a have and have not position.
Be proactive.
Proactive, knowing that this change is unavoidable. This will not stop. This is going to happen.
It's going to happen, and be on that boat.
Correct.
You know, be on that boat. Don't be in the Titanic
Correct.
when it's going down.
Correct.
I mentioned the Kessler case. We only have a little over a minute.
Sure.
If you can briefly explain what's going on.
So it's the case is Marvin Jenkins versus the NCAA. He's a current defensive back at Clemson who's been injured and has had several injuries, but is represented in a free market ability to market your value, i.e. the restrictions of amateurism, by the world-renowned attorney Jeffrey Kessler in New York City, who was the one in, I don't want to say the 80s, that was the McNeil case that broke out free agency for the NFL. He's been involved in litigation with the NBA and a lot of big-time civil litigation, antitrust, anti-market, and this is to create a free market in football. It is the most compelling change that would happen to us should he actually prove and win and be successful in the process.
This is where there's danger.
Correct. This is correct. The O'Bannon case dealt with the likeness and dealt with the ability for imaging. The cost of attendance case is still being heard, and it's the Alston versus the NCAA, and that will be decided sometime in late September or October. But the Jenkins case or the Kessler case for a free market, the idea of removal of amateurism is very serious concern. And the NCAA is taking it very serious. President Emmert's very proactive, as are many of our commissioners, as are many of our legal team. So,
hey, Tom, great stuff. Thank you so much for explaining that. Best of luck out in California and the rest of the season. It's always a pleasure.
Thank you. Good to be here, Greg.
University of Memphis Athletics Director Tom Bone will take a short break. Overtime is coming up next. Summer is winding down, but in my estimation, the best time of the year for playing golf is still ahead. Now, back in February, we started helping you become a better player with lessons from Miramichi head golf professional Greg King. We are now down to our final 2 lessons, and both will concentrate on the art of putting. So here's Greg with another segment of Good Golf Made Easy.
Today, I'd like to help you become a better putter. In 27 years of teaching, I've found that everyone possesses a really great putting stroke. What's important is that you learn to measure yourself to the ball consistently so that the ball is in the way of your stroke when both the club shaft and the club face are ready to start a ball down the line. So I'll begin to explain a little bit about learning how to measure yourself to the ball to accomplish that. What you'll want to do is you'll want to practice at home a little bit to a very finite point. Let's say a corner of a chair leg or a point of a tee, and learn to set your hands down. Just drop your arms from your shoulders. I like to say give enough room between the end of the putter and the front line of your thighs, about a hand's width, so that you have enough room for your arms and your elbows to swing back and through very freely. We want to feel that what's moving in the putting stroke is the triangle of both hands, the arms, the shoulders, the upper spine. The shoulders, the sternum is moving. What's very quiet is the lower body. Imagine that you're standing in a swimming pool of water from the belt down, and you feel that your hands, your arms, and your shoulders are what are moving and rocking. The other part of learning to measure yourself to the ball is, where do we play the ball between our feet? For most people, it's somewhere between middle of your stance to forward of your stance. Personally, I play it a little bit forward, slightly closer to left knee. So I know that when I walk up to a ball and measure myself, that I have reference of the distance away from the ball and where is the ball between my feet, so that when I do that, I can start a ball down a line. And that's what you need to do to measure yourself to the ball. The second part of becoming a more efficient putter especially on those short putts, those 6-footers and in that really help you convert to score well while you play, is simply the ability to start the ball down a line. One of the most effective things that I've found in helping people through many years of teaching is trying to describe how we can swing this entire club as one unit, as opposed to getting real wristy here, just swinging the hands. What I'd like you to try to picture is that we swing the club from the bottom of the club head to the top of the grip as one entire unit. The way we do that, again, we're swinging the triangle of the hands, the shoulders, the arms, and the hands. I look at my back wrist. For a right-handed player, my right wrist, I want to keep this angle the same as I swing back and through. Especially when I show you one-handed only. On the back swing, the right arm is going to fold at the elbow, and as I go through, the right arm is going to straighten. That allows me to swing the entire club shaft as one unit. When I do that, the club face is a lot more stable and I get less wobble of the club face, so that especially on these smaller strokes, we can start a ball down the line. That, coupled with measuring yourself well, is going to help you start the ball down your intended starting line and make more short putts. So another component of short putting to help you with the mechanics of your stroke, to help you get real consistent with starting a ball down a line, is to really have an understanding of what part of your body moves, what part of your body is stable. We've already talked a little bit about your lower body being stable. Let me further dive into, just for a second, what is moving. So I talk a lot about upper spine rotation. We'll just again say the shoulders, the arms, and the hands are what's swinging. On that note, I'd like you to picture a pendulum on a wall clock. The swing is back and through. You're going to find that your energy transfer, your finite ability to meter out the speed and distance that you hit it, is based on two variables of this pendulum swing. One is obviously the length of the pendulum swing, and the second is the pace at which that pendulum is swinging. So obviously when you're on faster greens, really fast competitive green speeds, you've got to slow down that pendulum swing. When you're on slower greens, that pace of the pendulum is going to move faster. One important note here is I'd like you to know that if a pendulum swings back, let's just say I swing back about 6 inches on the backswing, let's go at least 6 inches through the ball to the finish. Generally, the pendulum swings a little bit more through the ball than you made on the backswing. So if I'm going to make a pendulum to my right foot on the backswing, let's go probably a little bit past the left foot as we go through the ball. So as you make your swing, what I'd like to show you is, as my shoulders work pretty much perpendicular to my spine, as I stand over here and make a stroke, my left shoulder, as you see it from here, isn't moving straight up, isn't moving straight around. My left shoulder works up plane to help make the putter swing through and come up the resultant plane. That's going to help you if you can feel that you're moving, again, your hands, your arms, your shoulders, and the pendulum is created by, right here, the speed that you want. That'll help you.
Thanks a lot, Greg. For the first time since 2010, the Memphis Redbirds are in the playoffs. In fact, the Birds are in Omaha tonight playing Game 2 of their best-of-5 American Conference Championship Series. The Birds will host the Storm Chasers tomorrow night at AutoZone Park in Game 3, and will also host Games 4 and 5 over the weekend, if necessary. Just 2 months ago, the Redbirds were 8 games under 500 and in last place in their division. The team would then go on to win 8 of their next 10 games and turn it on for a 79-win season, third most W's in franchise history. The good guys have been to the PCL Championship 3 times, winning 2 titles. The Memphis Grizzlies' regular season schedule was recently released, and the Grizz will open up their 14th season in Memphis on October 29th with a home game against Minnesota and Memphian Thaddeus Young. The team will play 5 of its first 7 on the road and finish with 8 of their last 13 at home, so they make a push for their 5th consecutive playoff appearance. The Grizzlies will play 20 back-to-back games, and 20 of their 41 home games will be played Friday through Sunday. One other Grizzlies note, the team has waived second-year guard Jamal Franklin earlier this week. Franklin is owed a little over $816,000, which will now be stretched over 3 years for salary cap purposes. And that'll do it for now. Have a great week, and we'll see you next time.
Production funding for Sports Files is made possible in part by
Infinity of Memphis has moved to Germantown Road, just half-mile north of Wolf Chase Galleria, and is proud to support WKNO for its quality broadcasting and service to our community. Quality and service? No wonder Infinity of Memphis feels at home on WKNO. The Lighting Source, major line distributor of commercial and industrial lighting, including hard-to-find bulbs and fixtures, as well as a broad range of LED products. With 35 years' experience servicing lighting needs, The Lighting Source proudly sponsors Sports Files.